The Prodigal Journey. Finding my way back to the supper of the Lamb through my Catholic faith. Excerpt from Chapter 4. Faith in the Shadows of the Spotlight. After graduation, I found myself back in the familiar surroundings of my parents' home. The next year and a half were a mix of transition, self-discovery, and uncertainty as I contemplated what the next chapter of my life would look like. While many of my peers were leaping into careers or continuing their studies, I found myself in a holding pattern, oscillating between nostalgia for the life I had left behind and anticipation for what lay ahead. During this period, I began teaching private students and continued performing as a trumpet player, often in local off-Broadway productions. One particularly memorable show was West Side Story. It was an incredibly challenging score, full of rapid tempo changes, mixed rhythms, and Latin-inspired motifs that required precision and endurance. While I stumbled through some of the complex rhythms, my ability to nail the high notes garnered praise from my fellow musicians and the conductor. That praise was like fuel to me, a validation of the years I had spent practicing and honing my skills. It wasn't just about hitting the notes, it was about being seen, respected, and valued as a performer. Sarah had moved almost 5 hours away to attend graduate school in another state. At first, we made efforts to keep in touch, but the distance proved insurmountable. Gradually, our calls became fewer and farther between until, without any formal conversation, we simply stopped communicating. Then, in the spring of 1984, I received a phone call from Bob, the saxophone player I had met during West Side Story. He told me about a new band forming in town and said he had recommended me as their trumpet player. I was flattered, but also hesitant. The genre of the band was deeply rooted in the Carolinas, with influences from R&B, soul, and early rock and roll. The bands typically featured a rhythm section, vocalists, and a horn section, a combination that brought to mind groups like Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire, and Blood, Sweat, and Tears. When I arrived at our first rehearsal, I felt like I had stumbled into a completely new world. The songs were upbeat, groovy, and full of energy. The horn lines required tight harmonies, precise phrasing, and impeccable timing. Despite never having played this style of music before, Bob and I fell into an effortless groove. Our parts blended seamlessly, as though we had been playing together for years. During this time, I found that my tendency to embellish stories was still present. I had always been a storyteller, a natural performer both on and off the stage. Yet, while I wove exaggerated tales of romantic conquests to fit in with the other band members, most of whom were older and married, the truth was that my experience with women remained limited. Our first gig was in the summer of 1984 at a private club in town. The night was electric. The band was tight. The crowd was lively, and Bob and I were perfectly in sync. Our harmonies, phrasing, and breathing were spot on. The crowd danced for hours, the drinks flowed freely, and the women looked like they had just stepped off the pages of Playboy. It was a party atmosphere unlike anything I had experienced before, and I was hooked. By the following year, I decided it was time for a change. I realized I needed something more structured, something that felt like real progress rather than just treading water. Graduate school seemed like the logical next step, a way to challenge myself, sharpen my skills, and find a deeper sense of purpose in the music that had become my life. Graduate school, as it turned out, would become the springboard for the next major chapter of my life. It was there that I met the woman who would become my wife, a development that would forever alter the course of my journey. At the same time, my faith, the cradle Catholicism that my parents had instilled in me, but never actively reinforced, came into question. My choices and their consequences caused pain and disappointment for my parents, emotions that lingered for the rest of their lives. The period between August 1985 and August 1987 was a defining era. I began to recognize that my faith was slipping further away, and my pride and ego were often driving my decisions more than a true sense of fulfillment. For years, my lack of humility, paired with straight-faced dishonesty, earned me the attention I craved. Playing in a traveling band provided even greater freedom to indulge in the darker sides of my life. Within a year, my hormonal desires were fulfilled in the embrace of a loving relationship. Yet the trifecta of pride, dishonesty, and lust would later become the root of my downfall. It was a period of growth, challenge, and transformation, a pivotal chapter that set the stage for the next 38 years of my journey.